Okay, so I want to talk to you about the Greater Nicobar project today because I feel that it's the kind of argument that we need to understand really clearly as members of society and also simply as human beings. Because this argument of do we need development, strategic military dominance versus what it means for the environment and the future of the human race, I feel like these arguments are going to become more and more important as we go forward. So I'm actually placing this before you because I want us to, as a group, to think about it and actually decide where each of us stands on this argument. So I've put together almost all of the varying, the variables of this conversation. But the trigger for why I'm bringing this up is because the National Green Tribunal has cleared the project for the second time, rejecting any challenges to the project on environmental and coastal clearances. And the six-member bench actually ruled that there are no sufficient grounds to interfere with this project, stating that the environmental concerns have been examined, they have been addressed, and it's fine now, we should go ahead. In fact, the NGT chairperson actually said the tribunal took into account the strategic importance of that project and found that there's no actual need right now to stop it in any way. And that is really the reason why I want to bring this up, because the National Green Tribunal, which is like the Supreme Court for Environment, has taken into consideration the strategic military importance of this project in terms of what it means to the country, and then also weighed it against the environmental concerns. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So I do hope to hear from you in the comment section as to what you finally, imagine if you were the judge, right? I want to know how you would decide in this particular case. Also remember, like, share, subscribe, sign up for our membership, share this video with someone you might think will find this information useful. Now, before we go further, I want to take a minute to just explain what the NGT is, or the National Green Tribunal is. So, the National Green Tribunal is a specialized environment court. So, it's like I said, it's like the Supreme Court for environmental matters, and it was actually started during the previous government, UPA 2 under Dr. Manmohan Singh. Because at that point, what was happening is basically someone would start a project, invariably government or otherwise, or private sector. They would start a large infrastructure project, and there would be a case that would come up on that project for environmental reasons, and it would go into the legal system and never come out the other side. You were just waiting and waiting and waiting, because the legal system, as we know, is already choked with various things. So in order to speed that up, environmental matters were separated into their own court, called the National Green Tribunal. There was a separate act that was brought about to do that. So the NGT exclusively only deals with cases of environment protection and conservation, forest and wildlife, pollution, air, water, waste, coastal regulation, environment clearances, and enforcement of environment laws. And they actually have a mandate to dispose of cases within 6 months, because the idea was to fast track all of these cases in this one particular court. They were meant to deliver fast track judgments, to combine scientific expertise and legal reasoning. So not only do we have retired judges of the Supreme Court and the High Court sitting on the NGT, we also have scientists, environmentalists, forestry, wildlife experts. So it's meant to be a very specific understanding of environment and also adjudication that happens really quickly. So it was meant to balance environment with development. So we're coming back to that whole purpose again and again. How powerful is it? It's as powerful as any court, as a high court, in fact. So the orders that it gives are binding. It can halt a project, it can cancel a project, it can withdraw all clearances, it can impose fines, it can order that the ecosystem be restored even if there has been damage. And any appeal against an NGT judgment goes directly to the Supreme Court. So it cannot go to a high court, it goes to the Supreme Court. So you know where it stands in terms of importance. So that's the NGT that has given the judgment this week. Now let's talk about the Greater Nicobar mega project and why this is something we're discussing. Now, Greater Nicobar Island is India's southernmost point of our country. It's located very close to key international shipping routes in the Indian Ocean. So we put up that map and you will see where the Greater Nicobar Island is and how trade routes move. So the most important part about it is if someone is moving something, say from eastern China into the Middle East, that is the ocean that they are actually crossing, and that's the point that we are looking at. Now, this was a project that actually the Niti Aayog came up with. It was approved by the Union government in 2021. It's meant to turn the Greater Nicobar Island into like a Hong Kong or a Singapore style hub for shipping, combining shipping, economic, military infrastructure. It will take up 10% of that entire island, so 166 kilometers. It will have a deep sea transshipment port in the bay. That's the most important part. It will have a massive airport that will be civil and military. It will have a gas and solar power plant and an integrated township that will house about 65,000 people for now. Nearly 130 square kilometers of forest land will be diverted, and the government says about 8.5 lakh trees will be cut, although independent ecologists and experts are saying that that number is a gross underestimate. The number could be close to 10 million and not 8.5 lakhs. So it's not 8.5 lakhs, it's 1 crore is what the argument is. But forest land will be diverted, trees will be cut, and that's where the entire question comes up. Now, why is, and this is the government's argument, okay, so let me first give you the government's argument. Why is this Greater Nicobar project so strategically important? Well, it lies very close to the east-west international shipping corridor. So imagine on that map again, someone's moving something from China, from that entire Eastern Asia space into the west, and you have to cross this ocean. It's equidistant from other ports like Colombo and Singapore. Nearly 25% of global trade passes through this strait. So the port is expected to capture 20 to 30% of regional transshipment cargo. It will reduce India's reliance on foreign ports like Singapore, and it will strengthen our military command in those islands and thereby in that ocean. Defense experts say it will allow India to monitor, deploy ships, aircraft, drones closer to key maritime choke points in that entire Indo-Pacific Ocean. Now, why is the project controversial? The project is controversial because Greater Nicobar is one of India's most untouched, virgin, diverse regions. 85% of that island is covered in forests, and they're not just regular forests. These are tropical rainforests like the Amazon rainforests, like untouched rainforests that are millions of years old. These are tropical rainforests. There are also mangroves, there are also coral reefs, there are also coastal ecosystems, and it's home to some specific species of plants and animals that are not found anywhere else in the world other than on this one island. So there's a Nicobar megapod. That's what that looks like. Dugong in the waters, the leatherback and olive ridley turtles that nest in the island, saltwater crocodiles. There's a crucial nesting site for giant leatherback turtles that are millions of years old. Dredging could destroy coral reefs and increase erosion, and this is also an earthquake active zone. Apparently, during the massive tsunami that this area faced, there was a portion of the island that just slipped underwater completely because it's sitting on an earthquake seismically active zone. And the island, was badly affected by that 2004 tsunami, which submerged parts of the land, permanently, like I said. The island is also, and this is a really important bit, it's home to the Shompen tribe, which is it's called PVTG, particularly vulnerable tribal group, about 300 or 400 people that depend completely on the forest for their sustenance. They have almost no contact with the outside world, or very limited contact with the outside world, so they don't have immunity to any of the diseases that outsiders might bring in. And if they face displacement from their ancestral land, their indigenous people, their sacred land, there is an argument from human rights groups that this large-scale contact, that the chopping down of the forest, that actually attempting to relocate them to a different part of either the island or any other part of the country will be existentially dangerous for them. Some people have gone as far as say it will be genocidal, in the sense that they will get wiped out completely and they will not survive this change. There's the tree cutting dispute as well that I told you about. The government says that 6,500 hectares will be deforested and 8.5 lakh trees will be cut. Ecologists are arguing that this is an underestimate, that tropical rainforests have 900 trees per hectare. That means that it could possibly go up to 1 crore trees that will actually be cut off. Now, why did the NGT approve this project? So the NGT has given us its arguments. This is the second round of litigation. In 2023, there was one round that went in, and it was brought before the court, and the court then sent it to a high-powered committee that examined it. It's come back to the court, and now we have a judgment. Now, the tribunal has accepted these arguments. One, the strategic national security importance of the project, and this is an important part. Is it strategically and nationally important? Yes, it is. There's no doubt about it on many different arguments. But the court has said, we've taken this into consideration and weighed it against the environment impact. It is also said that the coral reefs can be scientifically translocated and no reefs lie directly in the project footprint. Independent verification has shown no construction will happen in the prohibited coastal zone either. They've also said that the corals will be monitored, then this is the environment safeguards that have been promised. Corals will be monitored, wildlife and turtle protection plans will be started, biodiversity pollution oversight committees will apparently function in this remote island while they have not been able to function in Delhi. Mandatory compliance of coastal regulation laws will also happen, and the NGT said it will not interfere, but it has directed authorities to ensure compliance on all these conditions. Now, the supporters of this project argue that it will generate 30,000 crore rupees annually by 2040. And so that is revenue generation for the country through the port. It will create 50,000 jobs. It will strengthen India's role in the Indo-Pacific, and it will counter China's, and this is an important part, string of pearls strategy. Now, side quest, what is the string of pearls strategy? It's a term used by analysts to describe China's network of ports and bases and infrastructure projects in the entire area from the southern China Sea till the Middle East. The pearls from the port area specifically, one in Pakistan, one in Sri Lanka, one in Myanmar, and one in Djibouti, which is China's overseas military base. So what it allows China to do is track this entire space, access maritime choke points, give logistical support to its own naval vehicles, greater influence over the sea lanes. And India sees this as a problem because it makes the neighborhood uncomfortable for India. 90% of India's trade also moves by sea in volume. China's presence near India's coastline is viewed as strategic encirclement. I mean, it's like a garland, right? And it raises concern about surveillance, military reach, and crisis time blockades. So basically, if there is a crisis, can they block these spaces and not allow India to move? The Greater Nicobar fits into India's plan as a counter to all of this because of where it is located, because we can deploy naval and air assets faster if we are positioned there. It acts as a counterweight to China's network, and it also strengthens deterrence and maritime dominance for the Indo-Pacific. What do the critics say? The critics say the ecological damage is irreversible because once you touch these forests, once you touch the mangroves, once you touch the corals, you cannot bring it back again. It will be done. That the tribal displacement risk is permanent and it remains unresolved, that legal and procedural safeguards are inadequate at this point. In fact, from the Congress party, Jairam Ramesh, who used to be the environment minister when the NGT was actually put together. And I must point out that in that government, in UPA too, and as a journalist, I remember there was a lot of criticism that was put out about the fact that environment clearances just took forever. Environment clearance meant the project got stuck and it never moved forward. Jairam Ramesh has said that the case is pending. There's one case pending before Calcutta High Court, and that is the only remaining hope for the island. So the Greater Nicobar project, in conclusion, sits at the intersection of national security, economic ambition, ecological risks, and tribal rights. Remember, are the tribal people arguing their rights at this point? No, it's up to us to empathize and argue for them. The NGT approval also does another major thing. It sets a precedent for all future projects, where the NGT could perhaps weigh the strategic importance or the military importance and make its decisions accordingly. So it doesn't end this debate at this one project. Remember, Ladakh is talking about mining in a very sensitive ecological environment, but mining for rare earth minerals that will help us prepare for the future in terms of building batteries for electric vehicles and building batteries for, the kind of future that India envisions in this world of AI and electric vehicles and solar energy, right? So what's going to happen is this Greater Nicobar project and this judgment that we've seen from the NGT could be used as a precedent for all future arguments where irreversible ecological damage will stand face to face with development, and we'll have to decide which one is more important for us. What happens now? And this is where I'm leaving this before you. Now, we know what the NGT has decided. We know what the government is going to do next. It's going to move forward with this project. But if you were the judge in this project, what would you decide? Would you decide it's important for India to have this position, this dominance when it comes to China, which has already sort of built a garland of influence around us geographically? Or do we know enough about climate change and ecological damage right now to know that this is irreversible, not just for us, but for the entire human race, and what that means, and how do you possibly make this judgment? So I want to leave it there, and I want to know what you think about how this decision should be made, and we'll discuss more in the comments.